We go now to Virginia Senator and Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine, who is in Milwaukee. Senator, Major Garrett just reported the Trump campaign is feeling like they might win with a comfortable margin. How do you see things?
Well, we like where we are, but we're taking nothing for granted. So we're working very, very hard these last few days. We're seeing tremendous energy in registration, requests for absentee ballots, and especially early vote all across the country. And what we know about the early vote in the states that have it, Wisconsin, for example, just set a record in early vote. What we see, we're really excited about.
You mentioned in an interview with AOL that you thought Hillary Clinton was the underdog. How is she the underdog? She's got the name, the money. She's been in politics before. Her opponent hasn't. What makes her the underdog?
You know, John, I told Hillary, I encouraged her to run in April of 2014, and we talked about that, and she had not decided yet. But I said, no matter what the polls say, and no matter what you see in an editorial, consider yourself the underdog. You're trying to do something that's never been done. If it had been easy for a woman to be president of this country, we would have had a woman president of the country. So consider yourself the underdog till they call you the winner. That's what I say to myself, John, in every race I've ever run in Virginia, which until recently has been pretty tough real estate. I tell myself I'm the underdog till they call me the winner, and that gives me the discipline to do what I need to do until the polls close right at the very end.
You are in Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton's going to be going to Michigan. Barack Obama, the president's going to be in Michigan. There seems to be some nervousness in the campaign that those Rust Belt states, Midwestern states, are ones, though traditionally Democrat, Donald Trump is making some inroads. Are you worried?
We feel very, very good about where we are, but we're taking nothing for granted. I was in Arizona earlier this week, which is a really difficult state for us, but we're making a play there. And we want to do the same here in the Midwest. The polls in Wisconsin and Michigan look favorable to us, but polls can be wrong. So we don't take anything for granted, and that's why I'm really excited to be doing events in 3 different cities in Wisconsin today before heading to North Carolina and Virginia tomorrow.
A week ago, the FBI Director Comey released a letter about new emails that were found. There's been some debate about the effect of that on the campaign. What effect has that had? Has it been responsible for these polls tightening?
You know, what we saw, John, was actually polls tightening a little bit before that letter came out. And I view that as kind of a natural tightening, excuse me, at the end of a race. Undecided voters, if they have a Democratic or a Republican lean, they tend to go back to their team. And we are seeing that happen at the end, and so the tightening began before. I will say one thing we've really seen since that letter came out, and then the director sort of backtracked on it a day later, and then there's been subsequent stories this week about internal turmoil within the FBI. We've seen it add to the energy on our side. People on our side view this campaign as so important. The stronger together message is so important, and people don't want it to be distracted. So there has been a great uptick in energy on our side in early vote.
So has it helped the campaign?
I wouldn't say. I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a net wash. There was some concern, but then as more information has come out about internal turmoil within the FBI, it generated energy. And more than anything, I think Hillary's point of view is, look, let's not get distracted. We're making our case about a nation that's stronger together, that builds an economy that works for everybody and promotes the right view of American leadership in the world. That's what voters want to hear about, and we're going to stay focused on that through the end. There's
been some pretty tough things said about the FBI director from even within inside the campaign. Is Hillary Clinton going to be able to work with Director Comey if she gets elected?
You know, this is, I worked with Jim Comey when I was mayor of Richmond, and he was the head of the criminal division in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, and we've had a solid working relationship. It's been puzzling and troubling. The decision to release that letter violated 2 protocols, a protocol about not releasing controversial information right on the eve of election, and also one about not talking about pending investigations. Stories this week raise other questions that are challenging about why that would happen. But those are questions for later. We have to focus on making the case as to why Hillary will be the best president between now and when the polls close on Tuesday, November 8th, and that's what we're focused on. And the response that we're seeing, I was in Florida all day yesterday, one of the closest states here at the end, the energetic response, this new coalition of voters that Hillary Clinton is putting together, which is a reflection of people's positive views about her. We're really gratified by that.
So I didn't hear a yes, she'll be able to work with him.
That assumes, you know, something we're not ready to assume. We're not assuming anything about the outcome Tuesday. We are focused on doing everything we can to win on Tuesday, and then we'll think about what happens later.
Let me ask you about some information that came out this week. When Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State, she said she would let the State Department know if a major donation was made to the Clinton Foundation. It turns out $1 million was given to the Clinton Foundation by the government of Qatar. State Department was never informed. Why not?
John, my understanding of the MOU that Hillary struck as Secretary of State with the State Department about the Clinton Foundation is the Clinton Foundation would alert State Department if anyone gave a donation that was materially different than what they had been giving before Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. The government of Qatar had been a donor to the foundation, which, as you know, does great work around the world before she became Secretary of State. The fact that they are a donor has been known, but they were a donor before Hillary became Secretary of State. This wasn't a change in their position.
So this was in keeping with what you call the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. So even though they gave $1 million to the foundation, she felt no obligation to let the Ethics Department of the State Department know.
They were very clear about when notice would be required, and that would be if a government decided to do a contribution that was significantly different from what it had been doing before. The government of Qatar had been giving to the foundation. As you know, the foundation does great work around the world in the distribution of AIDS drugs here in the United States, the distribution of drugs to battle opioid addiction. So if donors were already contributing prior to her time as Secretary of State, there was a clear understanding that there was not additional notice required.
All right, Senator Tim Kaine, thanks so much for being with us.
You bet. Absolutely, John. Thanks.